Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Barker gets too heavily involved, and that's Whitehead and Coates. Welcome one and all to the BMW M135i Cup powered by VRRC. You join us at the latter of the calendar, but hopefully you've been around from the start. You have a pretty good idea what's going on, some of the protagonists and everything like that. And if you have been around from the start, well, apart from the first few weeks actually, then you've probably heard my voice throughout it. My name's Jack Oliphant. I will be your host for this evening. I can tell you that Richard Hayden is on doing the broadcast, and all the producing. And he may well weigh in with a few tidbits here and there in regards to the upcoming championships and whatnot, because we have got exciting news for that. So please feel free to unmute while hopefully he won't be a ghost at any point, because that is the problem we've been having a couple of times over the past couple of weeks. Speaking of the last couple of weeks, we've been at Zolder, Mugello, Assen, Spa, Oschersleben, and now we're at Portimao with 3 rounds to go. We're off to Hungaroring next week, and then we finish off the championship at Silverstone GP, June the 19th. And, well, it's pretty much setting up to be an absolutely stunning finale, where basically the top 5 can be well within a shot of that championship come Silverstone. But more on that in a couple of minutes' time, because Rich Hayden is here to tell us a little bit about the upcoming Cupra Leon Cup.
I am indeed, thank you, Jack. Yeah, so we're ready to announce our next championship starting the 10th of July. So we're moving from rear-wheel drive to front-wheel drive, which is kind of what we normally do. We do rear-wheel drive championship and then swap to fronts. And we're going for a Cupra Leon Cup. Really excited about this. It's the brand new 2024 Cupra Leon. And we're visiting some new tracks that we've not been to before. So Piscani, I have to say, I've been doing a lot of testing on it. It's a beautiful track. Really annoyed that we've never used it before. Now I've driven it, but yeah, so really looking forward to that. Barcelona we've been to before, obviously Donington and Nürburgring GP we've done. Lime Rock's new to us. Laguna Seca we have done a long time in the past on one championship. But it's a great track, and obviously we did the Assen in this championship and everybody loved it, so we're going to include it again. And then going to Virginia International for our final round, round 8 at the back end of August. So really looking forward to it. Sign up opened 5 days ago when we are at 26 already. So a combination of those tracks and that car seems to be quite popular.
Does that mean, Rich, that there's any chance for anybody else to jump in on the grid? What's the max people the grid closes up? So
we'll probably go to a maximum of 28 entries, so there's a couple of slots left. But I have to say, I do have 2 people already umming and ahhing. Yeah, so those last 2 spaces might fill in quite quickly. But yeah, really looking forward to it. It's an epic car, really good. The guys at Train Monkey Modding have done a fantastic job on this car. The previous 2022 model was fantastic, but this 2024 is just set a new bar, I have to say.
was going to say the coupe the 2022 model anyway was really at home, wasn't it? VRRC. It was our go-to reliable car whenever anybody had a little bit of a problem with a championship or anything. We thought, you know what, we'll settle everyone down. We'll give them the Cupra again. Everybody loves it. So looking forward to that one. And just a quick one, Rich, as well. We're doing the World Endurance League between, aren't we?
We are indeed. Yes, thank you for mentioning that. We've got the next 2 rounds of World Endurance League, and off the top of my head, I forget where we're going to.
I can't remember either, so don't worry.
But that's so that's GT3 cars, and that's a free entry championship just for members of VRRC, and it's been really popular. And we're doing kind of 2 rounds of that in between each one of our main championships. So when BMW finishes in 3 rounds time, we'll do another 2 rounds of World Endurance League and then slip into Cupras.
Absolutely fantastic. Right, a little bit more focused, shall we? Well, this championship at least. Ben Smith came home from the last round, which off the top of my head, Oschersleben, that's it, because I was struggling to remember it. It's Ben Smith who came home with the most amount of points. Oliver Gibson had a decent night in the end, actually, coming home in second, and Scott Bugner ended up in third. In terms of the overall points gained from that week, let's have a look at how that sets up the championship, because it does put a cat amongst the pigeons, I think, a little bit. Ben Smith in first place, but only by 4 points. Oliver Gibson came in strong with 152 points in second. Jack Smith stuck down in third. He just seems to have a habit of picking up points, but last week that habit, unfortunately for him, ran out. Craig Curtis was in fourth with 137, and Scott Bugner in fifth. Now, you could probably argue that we do have prizes for the top 5, and those top 5s are locked out. It's still quite a long way to go, and Josh Martin looks a little bit faster. Joel Lask is looking a little bit faster than he showed earlier on in the season, and Andy Carroll is looking particularly quick as well. He didn't quite have the evening at Oschersleben that he was hoping for, but here at Portimao, he's very quick, as he always is. Thomas Potter looks to have a little bit decent pace behind him tonight, and Chris Blakey down in 10th position. The second page, you can see all the way down, and I can tell you that with boost, actually. Well, Paul Laramie was top of the practice, but he did use boost doing it here at Portimao, so take that with a pinch of salt, shall we say. Adam Lyle down all the way to Kenny Press in 20th. Piercy was one of the drivers that really caught the eye, actually, last week, but unfortunately got turned around, I think, and then did a bit of turning around himself. So not quite the cleanest evening for him. And the rest of the championship, you can see down to there. Stu Henderson, really, was unfortunately not racing with us. This is Portimao, a great circuit, one of my favourites that we go to here at VRRC. And to be honest, it was a great addition to the F1 calendar in that COVID times. Fortunately, they don't race there anymore. I don't think, actually, they might do. They might have done it once or twice. Rich? No, I was going to say, I didn't think they did, but I'm just obviously remembering lots that happened on that one race that they did during COVID. Right, but we can have a look at how our BMW M135i Cup gets on around this brilliant track. Andy Carroll, smooth like butter there, to be honest. There's lots of difficult corners around Portimao, and a lot of corners where rear-wheel drive cars can certainly get away from you. But again, he just never had. So very impressive there by Andy Carroll. And I did just double-check myself, actually. The Formula One did go there in 2020 during the COVID calendar, but they also went there in 2021. But again, you could argue that 2021 was sort of half COVID calendar. But anyway, that's what I was thinking. Either way, one driver who's not confused about this circuit currently is Thomas Potter, who did a good job last week. He was definitely on our radar. He was, in fact, hogging all the camera time, really, in the first race. We couldn't stop talking about it because of how entertaining he was and how at the sharp end he was. But in this, well, at the end of that race, I think he got knocked wide potentially in race 2. It never really his win either, but he's doing a good job here, currently on pole position by about 0.3 of a second. However, Craig Curtis is the driver that is about to take that away from him potentially, because he's just gone green in sector 1, purple sector 2, and given the fact that he's hunkered up behind Thomas Potter here, he'll get the slipstream. You imagine he'll come across the line and set that pole position time. 0.3 of a second is what he needs. He didn't get it though. Craig Curtis comes across the line, and that's a third sector. He's really very poor. He's lost the purple second sector as well, and he's lost it to Ben Smith, championship leader. This is Jack Smith though, in third place. Looks to be on about equal time with his current best, which again though is pretty impressive considering the weight that Jack Smith. Ben Smith jumps up to second place, less than 1/10 of a second away from Thomas Potter. Now I do believe there's been a little bit of a change ballast. Normally Jack Smith is carrying 50 kilos. He has done for the majority of this championship, and he has suffered as a consequence, which is exactly what he wanted out of ballast. He's now dropped down to 40, given the fact that he's dropped down into third place in the championship. And it looks to me like he's getting to grips with that ballast a little bit better than he did previously. But the Algarve circuit is a little bit up and down. It's very hilly, difficult to get the car around to the best of times, let alone if you have to accelerate up hills and you're braking down and gravity not doing you any favours. Like that. The car can easily get away from you. Adam Lyle on your screen. Green sector 1. Oliver Gibson green sector 1, but Thomas Potter crucially also green sector 1. So the driver's getting quicker and quicker and quicker. Oliver Gibson, who had such a great outing last week, looks to be very, very close to Craig Curtis, but maybe not quite achieved his best yet. How far off pole position? It's a 3.5 tenths of a second, but I can see that he's potentially between 2, 3, 4 tenths up. It depends on the corner, really. Craig Curtis sets a purple sector 2. We're going to keep an eye on Adam Lyle, who has just about 3 tenths down on that sector 2. So that means I don't think sector 3 is going to be good enough to get him aboard. It is ahead of Oliver Gibson for the time being, actually. So that sector 3 was actually pretty decent. Right back here. Craig Curtis jumps up to third place ahead of Jack Smith. The top 3 or top 4 really separated by less than 4 tenths of a second. But those top 2, Thomas Potter and Ben Smith, remember that no hybrids can be used during qualifying. Very close indeed, but I fear for those two that we're going to have another entry that's close to them, and it's going to be Oliver Gibson as he comes across the line. Oliver Gibson is going to set a quicker time, I pretty much guarantee it, and there we go, it's up to third place. Said he was going to join them. What lap time was it in the end? A 1:54. It's still a 1/10 of a second slower than Ben Smith. But Oliver Gibson with 40 kilos of ballast on board, so Jack Smith and Oliver Gibson, the two brothers, do have 40 kilos. Ben Smith, however, impressively, has 50. So the fact that Ben Smith can pull that lap time out of somewhere is very, very impressive indeed. But the sort of gap is a large circuit, nearly a 2-minute lap, and the top 8 separated by less than half a second. That's pretty impressive. We have to go all the way down to 13th place to find anyone who's outside a second. That's the sort of statistic that you're used to seeing from the likes of a Brands Hatch Indy or something like that. So again, it should set up a really nice, good, exciting evening, hopefully. Not just we're waiting on the reverse grid. I think that even the first race should be sort of have us all on our toes a little bit as well. Chris Blakey, who's a driver I haven't really spoken about, but equally we haven't. it's quite impressive that he's there, actually. We don't normally see him that sharp, that further forward. He's in 6th. He's got a green sector 1, so does Craig Curtis. Although Craig's 2nd sector is nothing really to write home about. It's not the end of the world, but it's about 0.3 of a second off the purple sector 2. Andy Carroll's going a little bit faster in sector 1. He's in 11th place at the moment. He won't be particularly happy with that as Craig Curtis comes across the line to set a nothing lap time in his, well, he's about 0.2 of a second off his fastest, so it's nothing in his high standards. But Andy Carroll, yeah, is a driver I want to keep an eye on. There's Chris Blakey, who did do a sector 1 green. His sector 2 is a little bit faster than the likes of Craig Curtis, about a 10th or so faster. So if he has a good sector 3, hooks it up very nicely. In fact, Oliver Gibson is going to be slightly upset with how nicely he did get it together. Chris Blakey put to 1 minute 54.3, and again, I think that is less, just over a 10th of a second to Thomas Potter as Andy Carroll rounds out the final corner and jumps at least into the top 10. We're complimenting how smooth he was on that lap. Well, could do with a little bit of more speed. Maybe he needs to get, well, I was going to say maybe he could be a bit more on the edge and force the car a little bit further to the edge of the circuit as he flew off the circuit. Thomas Potter on a green sector 1. Not only is he on the green sector 1, he's also on pole position, isn't he? Can he extend that time with Ben Smith, who's been struggling to get any kind of lap together since he set that flyer? Can't blame him with 50 kilos of ballast on board. Thomas Potter has 3. That goes to show the massive difference, really. But Thomas Potter has managed to get a little bit quicker, a little bit better. He needs a little bit more experience racing at the sharp end, but given how young he is, he's only 12, I think, you can sort of forgive him for maybe falling off the circuit under pressure against some really top opposition. Lee Piercy, purple sector 1. Lee Piercy in 11th place will finish off watching Thomas Potter, but I have just noticed that towards the rear end of my screen. Potter coming round. It's a slow sector 2, though, and I don't think it's going to be a fast time for Thomas Potter. Josh Martin jumps himself up into 5th place for a lap time that I really wasn't expecting anything from, actually. He had two yellow sectors, which means he was down, but his green sector was very quick. I think the driver we have to focus on is, well, one, Andy Carroll, he's green sector 1, but the purple sector 1 of Lee Piercy is the absolute flyer that we've got that's currently going round. We've also got Olivia Krzyżanowska, who's in 13th, green sector 1. So a lot of the people at the rear end of the field are finally starting to get lap times together. What can Lee Piercy do? I feel like this has been a very long second sector. I mean, the second sector is very long. It's 1 minute 5 is really where you want to be. A few people haven't not actually cracked into the 1 minute 5s just yet. I feel like Lee Piercy is going particularly slowly here. 1 minute 5.9 actually. So maybe we've just been focusing on sector 2 more than we used to. It's not the fastest. It's about 0.6 of a second off for the fastest sector 2. But he did do a purple sector 1. So if he can hook this final corner up, he may well at least jump into the top 10. Lee Piercy comes across the line. And it's not an improvement, which is a bit of a shame. And really, he'll be cursing that because he had an opportunity there. Andy Carroll and Joel Lask actually has just gone green in sector 1. Sorry, they're the only drivers in the top 10 who seem to be improving towards the rear end of this qualifying session. If you are here supporting your favourite drivers, please do give them a shout out. And also, you know what? Well, wow, there's been an awful lot of chat already on the YouTube chat. Thank you very much, guys, for getting it. Normally, I come and have a look, and I all of a sudden just go, nah. There'll probably only be 2 or 3 people saying 1 or 2 things, and all of a sudden I look, and there's loads of people here. So big thank you. I think Max Wright is wondering if we're going to have an interview for Thomas Potter. If he stays on pole position, we are certainly going to have a chat to the young man. Have I chatted to Tom? Oh, it's first, second, and third. I've just been informed, actually. Yeah, how long have we been doing this now? Yeah, I really should remember that. To be fair, for the last 2 years, it's only been first place for qualifying. But anyway. Joel Lask and Andy Carroll are the 2 we're focusing on. Again, I feel like Andy Carroll's been a very long time in this sector too. But, he's just gone green, though. So 1 minute 5.7, and so is Joel Lask. In fact, here we go. 9th and 10th place could really upset a few people going further forward. There's no purple sectors to the names just yet. But they only had to find a couple of tenths of a second to get up to inside the top 5. Andy Carroll comes across the line, jumps inside at 8th. But Joel Last can be a bigger improver, and he does go into 8th position. In fact, so Andy Carroll, after the hard work of jumping Adam Lyle and going into 8th place, now has to drop down into 9th place, which is exactly where he was. Well, we're getting towards the done and dusted end of qualifying. 20 seconds left to go. It doesn't look like anybody's going to be improving. Jack Smith in 7th place is probably still not really where he'd want. Well, it's definitely not where he'd want to be, but even though he lost those kilos of ballast on board, it's clearly shown that it's still a bit of a handful to drive for him. Andy Carroll, in fact, has just gone green in Sector 1 again. Now, both Andy and Joel went yellow Sector 1, so it could have been an absolute flyer by them. But you have to keep in mind, look at the gap between Thomas Potter and Joel Lask, all the way down 8th position. It's less than 0.3 of a second. It's ridiculously hard to fit any more drivers in there. And I don't think we are going to either. Only Nathan Smith is on the green Sector 1. The checker flag has come out. I sort of want to see Andy Carroll's lap, but I think we're going to go and jump to an ad break because I don't think, no, I can see his sort of delta. He's only a tenth up, sorry. So we're going to shoot to a quick ad break. And after that, we'll be chatting to Thomas Potter, Ben Smith, and Chris Blakey. Well, welcome back, everybody. And I do believe we have a driver that I haven't spoken to before. I think he has got a podium previously, but I don't think I've ever spoken to him. And I'm proud to say that the YouTube chat is about to get very excited because on pole position is Mr. Thomas Potter. Thomas, are you there?
Yeah, hello.
Hello, big congratulations. That is an absolutely mega time, isn't it? I mean, you must have been sweating though, seeing all those drivers putting in some quick times behind you.
Yeah, I was up on my delta on my last lap, just messed up the last corner, so just pulled in my pits instead of finishing it. But
how much practice has got into this then? How much practice went into trying to get that lap time? And do you think you could go even quicker?
Yeah, I can definitely go quicker, but from Tuesday, Craig Curtis gave me a setup, so big thanks to him. Now I've gone quicker than him, so I don't think he's happy there. But then just from Tuesday, me and Adam were just doing lap after lap until we got our times down to the competitive.
You got a headache behind you though, because you got a championship leader in Ben Smith, obviously. Now, is that something that you're relishing the challenge of, or is that something that maybe you're slightly sort of worried about looking behind you?
Well, I'm hoping I can get a better start. Obviously, as the 50 kilos of ballast, which is almost double my weight. But then yeah, he's definitely going to keep pressure on me because I know how fast he is and how good he is at overtaking from when I've been sitting behind him on practice.
The improvements you've made over the course of not only this season, but obviously since your time in VRRC, have sort of been leaps and bounds and everything like that. Has that been due down to your commitment to the practice? I know you kart in real life and everything like that. Have you been able to convert any sort of anything you've learned on the sim into the karting as well? And what's it like being sort of part of the community that'll help you? Like you said, Craig Curtis is obviously gave you the setup and everything like that. Is that a big part of the improvement, is the people around you?
Yeah, it's definitely a big part, as well as from my sim racing. Obviously, you've got to be smooth in a sim, and especially in the BMWs and Minis. that's converted into my real life car, and with well, when I'm racing with Infinity X with a techno car, you've got to be smooth in that raw tax, which is definitely paying off because it helps in the sim racing. The sim racing helps in the karting, so yeah, it definitely helps.
And you have a rather large following, let's say, and a very passionate following in the YouTube chat and everything like that. Is that something that you sort of, do you go around sharing all the fact that you're streaming and sorry, that we're streaming the races, and you like to have that support behind you, or again, does that make you a little bit nervous?
It makes me nervous, but as well as happy, because well, my dad and my sister obviously share it everywhere, and then I've got Ashley Savage, who's big big support for my karting, and my granddad coming over to watch, which puts more pressure on, but makes it better when I've done well like today.
Hey, trust me, they'll all be buzzing with the fact you just got on pole position, and any pressure you feel now will only put you in good stead for the future as well. Very quickly, what are you doing in real life then, Thomas? Because obviously, people who follow you on social media, and they should go and do that, you obviously have a good idea. But anybody who might not, what's the sort of what's your season looking like this year?
Yeah, so I'm doing a karting in the raw tax with Infinity X Techno by Infinity X, and that's in the UKC, which is the Ultimate Karting Championship, like top 2 in the UK. So I'm currently running like top 15 around about there and that, and then I'm doing IPKC, which is a bit cheaper, and it's in a R200, which has got my own graphics on, and I'm currently winning that, so it's mainly gone pretty well. And I'm doing like loads of different odd races and like pro karts with Assen, which is a pro kart team, and loads of stuff like that. So it's all going pretty well.
Sounds like it. What are the ambitions moving forward then?
Well, hoping to move into cars. Hopefully by next year, but
Wow.
I think my age is gonna stop that. So hopefully in the next 2 years. Well, Ashley Savage is then basically gave me an old Ford Fiesta, which we're converting with all the help to my sponsors, especially Raw and Lifeline, who have gave me loads of a car. And so yeah, just hoping to move into cars as soon as I can.
Well, a year would be quite ambitious, to be fair, but I'm sure you'll be able to do it, Tom. Well done on the pole position. Is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
So all of Phoenix Sim Race, and especially Stu Vickers and Adam Leal, as they've been helping me the most on the sim, as well as Joe for giving me the setups in the minis, and Craig for giving me the setup for this today, and which has helped loads, and as well as Brad for all coming down to support me at UKC, which was last weekend.
Fantastic. I mean, a big well done, Thomas, and very well spoken as well, I have to say, actually. Sometimes when we get younger drivers, it's like trying to get blood from a stone, but you remembered all the sponsors, remembered all the championships, and all the teams, so very well done. We'll hopefully speak to you a little later, even tonight, maybe.
Yeah, hopefully.
Right, that was Thomas Potter coming in for a chat. Now, I do believe we can move on to second place, man. Ben Smith. Now, Ben, I do apologise. I know that was a bit of an extended chat with Thomas Potter, but we've chatted to you loads, haven't we? So I'm sure you'll understand. 50 kilos of ballast, second place. I mean, that is mighty impressive.
Yeah, it was a good lap. By far the best one I've done. But fair play to Thomas. He's been noticeably getting quicker the last few weeks, and for him to stick it on pole is really impressive. So well played to him. But hopefully I can sneak away from him on the line and maybe have a nice little race. So it should be good fun.
Is that hybrid? But oh no, you can't use it on the first lap. I was about to say, is that hybrid button getting pushed immediately? But if you do, you'll be disqualified or something. Anyway, you are not allowed to do it. So, what's the plan for that first lap? I mean, obviously, to get ahead of Thomas would be pretty difficult with 50 kilos. Is it a case of just trying to keep on his back bumper and then use the hybrids when you can?
Yeah, 100%. It would be good to hopefully follow him for a bit, maybe see where he's slightly slower and then move past if I can. But I don't know who maybe will move through the pack. Like, I imagine Jack will be really quick and Oliver, so I reckon they'll be right on us within probably the first corner, knowing them. So yeah, I'll just play it by ear and hopefully have a nice race.
I'm sure it'll be mega. Ben, big congratulations on the second place. I'm sure we'll probably be speaking to you at some point during the rest of this evening. Oh, is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go? I always forget that.
No, I'll just give it to Thomas again, really. He's done so well to get here, so well played.
Very nicely done. Ben, we'll see you after the first or second race, but
let's hope so.
always have to remember not to say congratulations just yet, because they haven't won anything or actually scored any points, really. Yeah, so, anyway, Chris Blakey, you're in 3rd position, and I have to say, that's a pretty quick time as well from yourself, actually. We're not, no offence, we don't normally see you qualified inside the top 3, so you must be very happy with how tonight's gone so far.
Even Jack, yeah. Surprised, but pleasantly pleased. So, yeah, it was... I was on for possibly P1, but I fluffed my lap slightly, so... yeah, the car's going well. Seems going all right. So we'll see what the race brings. Qualifying's one thing, the race is completely different.
Yeah, it is, and you've got some strong opposition around you, haven't you? I mean, we just mentioned, obviously, Ben and Thomas ahead of you, but behind, Ben's already mentioned it. You got Oliver Gibson, you got Andy Carroll, Josh Martin, and then you got the likes of Joel Lask and Jack Smith, who are probably going to be hoping to go forward. I've seen Lee Pearcey put in a purple Sector 1. It's not, I mean, I think the top 8 is separated by less than 0.3 of a second. So really, track position could be absolutely key for you, couldn't it? How do you, is there anywhere in the circuit you sort of expect people to really mount a big charge on you?
The big thing about this circuit is the corners, apexes over crests. You've just got to keep it so kind of planted, not spin up, not lose time, because you lose so much time in 4th or 5th corner. Just as you crest in, car goes light. It's so easy for the back to go. Yeah, it's going to be a challenging race, definitely. But the guys around me have all got weight on, so pray for a good start and see what happens. So.
Well, we're excited for you, Chris, that's for sure. Hopefully, everybody keeps it clean and everything, and we'll be in for an exciting race. What's the plan in terms of the hybrid usage? Are you going to wait for the long run? Are you going to wait to keep like 3 or 4 towards the end on the last lap, or you sort of going to just wing it?
Hopefully not use them all within the first 5 laps to try and keep my position, and just try and keep a couple towards the last lap. Like to try and win the last lap or 2, just to cover myself. So we'll see how it ends up.
Love it, Chris. Anybody you want to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Just the rest of the BMW car club guys who are racing, and possibly my missus if she's watching, but she probably not. Cheers, Bex.
Fantastic, Chris. Big good luck for the next couple of races. Maybe we'll speak to you after race 1.
Fingers crossed. Cheers, Jack.
Right, that was Chris Blakey, Potter, and Ben Smith all coming in to have a chat to us after a pretty strong qualifying. And I have to say, mentioned it already in those interviews, very strong qualifying all as well, to be fair. We've got about a minute to go before we get racing. So Chris Blakey was probably starting to sweat there, actually, that he wasn't going to get time, he wasn't going to get released. But we do like to try and give the drivers at least a minute, get themselves set up, get themselves calm. We also like to give the spectators a minute to get themselves set up, get themselves calm. Calm is probably the optimal word. I imagine there are going to be a couple of people who are sat behind the sofa. I know Elaine is often one who has some kind of beverage in hand, and that beverage often gets stronger into race 2 and potentially moves behind the sofa as well. There'll be a few people, I imagine, on the pole position side who will be doing such a thing as well. Paul Lamy is a driver that was slightly surprised to see further down. He was quite quick in practice, actually, but we'll see how he gets on. And, of course, that fight for the 10th place. Just to give you a bit of a heads up as well, Andy Carroll, I said he was quick. I said I wanted to finish watching the lap, but we didn't have time. He jumped up into 4th. So he went from 9th up to 4th on that final lap. Let's see how he can get on. Right. The lights are about to come on here at Portimao, and in fact they are. The engine notes rise, which means only one thing here at the BMW M135i Cup, powered by VRRC, and that is we are racing for the first time here at Portimao, and Thomas Potter does get a flying start. Ben Smith couldn't get up the inside. Potter moves to the inside of the circuit with Chris Blakey trying to fly around the outside. Always going to be difficult to try and find a little bit of track. But I think the top 3 have managed to get away with it for the time being, with Oliver Gibson getting up to 4th place, but battled hard by Josh Martin as Smith goes very wide, but carries a decent amount of speed. I think Josh Martin has managed to actually get into 4th place ahead of Gibson here, and has done a good job of securing that place. Yeah, he has actually. That's very well done by Martin. Drivers who we wanted to keep an eye out on is the likes of Oliver Gibson, who we mentioned already. Lee Pearcey up to 8th place, but Jack Smith is all the way down in 20th. I was stalling there to try and find his name, but it's well down the order. Craig Curtis is down in 21st position. Disaster for those two. But it's all smiles and hunky-dories right now from Thomas Potter. I think Ben Smith, like he was saying, is going to have to just hold on to his position for the time being before he can start trying to outsmart Thomas with the hybrids. Looking at Josh Martin, just ahead of Oliver Gibson here. It's a good start from him. He goes slightly narrower, doesn't try and open the door up. That's going to hurt him on the exit, but it's not a long run down into the next corner. And the next corner is double inside, double left-hander, so he's going to be on the inside. Gibson doesn't lunge for it. What I like about Portimao is there is quite a few potential overtaking opportunities, and there's even more if the driver in front of you decides to get a bit of a heavy foot on cold tyres as well. Josh almost losing it. I said actually in the hot lap that it's very interesting that we saw Andy Carroll, how smooth he was and how he wasn't even fighting the car over that particular corner actually. And it's very impressive because, as I said, it's so easy to spin these rear tyres, and that'll just take so much life out of them as well, especially if you've got ballast on board. But Josh Martin doesn't really suffer with too much ballast, but he is suffering with a potential overtake from Oliver Gibson here, and straight up the inside goes Gibson, and he retakes that 4th position. Martin looks to go up the inside, though, as Gibson ran wide. So did Andy Carroll in the background, and this could be the battle that we want to watch, to be honest, for the majority of this race, as Martin again spins those rear wheels up, holds up Gibson, holds up Carroll, allows Adam Lyle and Lee Pearcey, Nathan Smith to potentially have a little bit of a sniff, but more importantly, it allows the top 3 to run away as Gibson looks up the inside once more into the heavy braking zone. He's hot on the hybrid, and he gets that position made, gets it stopped, but Martin with a lovely bit of a switch back. Didn't even waste a hybrid doing it. Martin holds on to that position for the time being as they go through the left-hander. He should have his nose ahead, but Gibson's actually not let it die. He's up the inside. Martin holds on to it. Gibson couldn't quite make it stick. This is going to be an absolutely epic battle if they can keep it clean. Martin on the hybrid then. That's a bit of an odd place to use it, I would say, to be honest, because they're going to go down and straight up the hill. I suppose you are flat out for the entirety of this section, and there's a defensive strategy. It's probably not bad, but you do go very hot into this couple of corners. But Martin does just about hold on to it, and there he goes, spinning those wheels up yet once more. You can see, actually, one of the fascinating things that I really like about VRRC's broadcast, I have to say, and I didn't do it when I was broadcasting it, is the throttle trace on the left-hand side. So if you see the likes of Josh Martin spinning the wheels up, if you see him drifting, just cast your eyes very quickly down to that throttle trace on the bottom left. What you should see is that green line that's currently pinned to the top of Ben Smith's throttle trace, and the red is right at the bottom. That's the red is braking. In fact, there we go. I think Rich is wiggling his mouse at it. But the line with green is the accelerator. Obviously on the straight, you want to be pinned flat to the floor, but just look as they go into the first corner, how that very quickly changes. As Ben Smith dived, that's perfect execution of what I'm talking about, actually, for both deceleration and acceleration there from Ben Smith. You want one nice clean line. You don't want either of them to be jagged. You don't want 3 or 4 apexes or anything like that. You want one strong line and then another strong line backwards, as Andy Carroll, as I was explaining, giving everyone a lovely little taste of my driver coaching, which is non-existent. There's absolute carnage as Andy Carroll gets turned around, I believe that was. Craig Curtis has lost another place to Jack Smith. Paul Laramie was involved in that. I think Andy Carroll was turned around. It may well have been Joel Last. I couldn't quite see, actually, now looking at it. But Carroll looking at the inside. Nathan Smith, who's got a bit of a tank slapper, just flies into the side of Andy Carroll. But luckily, no harm done for the time being. You can see many peaks on their acceleration traces right now. As big lunge there by Paul Laramie. That's a little bit ambitious, wasn't it? Look at the peaks on those brakes and accelerators. That's not what you want out of a smooth and fast drive from Nathan Smith, but he's in a lot of traffic, so that is quite often what you find, actually, is it's a lot harder to drive that smooth when you are in this much traffic. And he's going all over the back of Andy Carroll. He's up the inside. Don't think he even had to use the hybrid. Carroll turns into him, gets forced a little bit wide. Very big slide. Gets his foot in, actually, there. Nathan Smith, that's quite impressive. But him and Carroll are going basically door to door for the entirety of this lap. Has Smith opened up too much of a gap to Laramie? No. Is he going for that cutback? Sort of. Wasn't really decisive enough for it because he knows the track's probably going to come back the other way. Maybe that's why he wasn't as aggressive as he wanted to. When you're doing that cutback, you want to go nice and slow wide. Lots of turning initially, try and straight line the corner before and take the apex is almost like a straight line, whereas your opponent probably is going to run wide because they're having to go defensive. But Nathan Smith wasn't quite as aggressive with it there. Some good racing. It's a little bit of a shame there was a little bit too much carnage, but I think contact actually ended up turning them round. This is Paul Laramie versus Adam Lyle. That's not Thomas Potter. Don't fear, fans. He's not lost the first place just yet, but it is Paul Laramie getting overtaken by Adam Lyle, who runs wide. Laramie up the inside again. Lovely stuff. This battle for what is about 8th place is really thrilling, to be honest. It's we quite often find this, that if the front three are a little bit dull, we can always cast our eyes backwards. And actually, I was looking at Lee Piercy against Gillian Christian. Just as those two make contact, Adam Lyle and Paul Laramie also make contact. My goodness, you don't know where to look, do you? But Lyle does hold that 8th position for the time being. And I think Paul Laramie, he's using the hybrid. There we go. I was wondering if he was going to do that just to escape Christian and Piercy behind, because it did look like he was going to lose track of Adam Lyle's car. It was very wide. I think Laramie, I don't know if he just hasn't practiced that much in using the hybrid in certain situations, certain parts of the track, but he's struggling with it a little bit. Potter's got a full second gap between himself and Smith, but Carroll has just had his inside arm wrenched open by Nathan Smith. A lovely move that, actually, I have to say. Smith sort of saw half a gap, decided to see if Carroll will pull out of it, and he went for it, but Carroll's gone for the more traditional, just dive bomb up the inside, see what happens, see if the driver turns across, and well, he got the position for about 30 yards before Nathan Smith got the inside and managed to retain that 7th place. But really very impressive driving by these guys, not to make any too much contact as Andy Carroll lifts a little bit. But there's that cutback. He's trying to straight line a little. Just not quite got the run, has he? He's got the hybrid on. But him, Adam Lyle and Nathan Smith, there you go. Carroll and Smith have decided to cross paths once more, as Adam Lyle had the slipstream as well. But Carroll flies at the inside. Look at the momentum Smith's carried. He's carried too much. Almost loses it. Great bit of car control, but he's going to drop back to the back end of this three-way battle. I fear it's too hot into that corner. I don't know how he managed to stop that, to be honest. Definitely looked like there must be some kind of contact between himself and Carroll, but to be fair, Carroll didn't even squirm, so maybe it was just the camera angle. Great stuff by Nathan Smith and Andy Carroll, has to be said. And Adam Lyle has to be a little bit more potent, shall we say, if he's going to try and get the positions off these guys, because there really is a position to be had for Adam Lyle. He just hasn't been able to actually get the bull by the horns and actually take it off them just yet. As they just give me half a second for my vocal cords to recover. I can tell you that Ben Smith is sort of in and out of that second to half a second gap from Thomas Potter. And I have to say, Chris Blakey is about the same. So the top three have calmed down a touch, as Adam Lyle versus Nathan Smith hasn't calmed down. Smith is on the inside, but Lyle is making him go in all kinds of positions on the circuit that he doesn't want to. And that's been threatening for a while. Nathan Smith spinning the rear wheels up. We saw Josh Martin do it. We've seen Smith do it too often. He's been muscled out of it by Paul Laramie as well. And after a great battle with Andy Carroll, it looks like it's come to a more permanent end, shall we say, as he drops back now in front of Lee Piercy, behind Paul Laramie. So, just because, as per usual, my screen is just a touch pixelated, I'm going to ask Rich Hayden if you mind giving a little bit of a rundown on the hybrid situation, Rich. They all look like they've all got double figures.
Yep.
But what are they on?
Okay, so the top three are on 11.
Sorry, Rich. I'm actually going to cut over you here because Ben Smith looks to be looking around the outside of Thomas Potter. As I look away, they were quite far away from each other, to be honest. This looks like it could ignite. Sorry, Rich. I will come back to you in a second. I'm sure you can understand. Looks like the top three could start battling, could start falling over each other. As I mentioned, they're operating about half a second to a second away from each other. But it looks like just through that first corner, Thomas Potter didn't quite have the optimal run. And now he's got 50 kilograms of pressure on just behind him, as Ben Smith is looking rather tasty for an inside move here. Potter giving him all the space in the world. That's good racing from both of these drivers. Chris Blakey can't quite take advantage, but he should have the best run out of that high uphill corner, because Ben Smith should have a pretty terrible time getting up there with all the ballast he has on board. Thomas Potter holds on for the race lead for the time being, diving into the right at the top of the hill. Is going to see who's going to spin up the wheels coming out of this one. There's a great shot there as Ben Smith doesn't spin the wheels up. He gets down. He's looking like he's on the more optimal racing line. He's sort of trying to put everybody off, isn't he, here? Chris Blakey is probably the faster driver out of these three in terms of while they're battling. But he's got two BMWs in the way. He can't get past for the time being. Has Thomas Potter managed to fend this one off for the time being? As we go round the final corner, Rich, I'm going to invite you back in before they all fall over each other again.
Okay, so the top three, well, the top two are now on 10. Chris Blakey's not activated his hybrid yet. He's on 11. Josh and Oliver on 9. Adam Lyle on 10, Andy Carroll 11, Paul Laramie's used 7, so quite a few used, but I'll hand back to you, change of the lead.
Yeah, because Ben Smith looks to be going up the inside, and actually I think he pretty much had that job done before he even got the corner. He runs wide though, that's going to hurt him coming back on. The car wasn't balanced, and Thomas Potter, cool, calm and collected, and probably saw that it was coming and retook the place. I'm sure that'll probably be appearing on his social media as well if anybody wants to go and follow him, because he's having a good battle here with Ben Smith, and championship leader, as I said, is not to be sniffed at. Ben is a very quick driver, but he's just dropped behind, I think, Chris Blakey, although Blakey's gone very, very wide. Good momentum, though. It's less steep at that part of the circuit. The wider you go, you can carry quite decent speed through that sort of mid-section of the corner. You have to slow right down to get the apex. It is ultimately faster on a hot lap. And if you are defending, then that is possible. What's not possible while defending, though, is going that wide and then missing that apex. Ben Smith gets back up to second place. Potter, it's music to his ears, the fact that BMWs are getting quieter and quieter behind him. He needs to look forward now, not in his rear view mirrors. Do not look in his rear view mirrors. He should tape over them if he can for the next couple of minutes, because Ben Smith, Chris Blakey, has been inviting along the pressure of Josh Martin and Oliver Gibson as well. 1.2 second the gap for the race lead. 0.3 seconds the gap to the likes of Ben Smith and Chris Blakey. But look at the drive that Martin has. No hybrids involved. My goodness, I thought he was going straight into the side of Ben Smith. Josh Martin, it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen him go all in or all off, basically. He's one of the most entertaining drivers on the grid, but he's looking like everybody's giving themselves a little bit of space here, which is nice. Portimao, a very wide circuit. It's great for racing. This is the reason why we come here constantly, to be honest. It's absolutely brilliant as they all jump on the hybrid, and we can see peeking through the lights that Oliver Gibson has the best run, and he may well be on the inside and take two in one hybrid usage. Oliver Gibson up to fourth place, overtakes Chris Blakey, and not only that, he overtakes Josh Martin as well. Nicely done by Oliver Gibson. Martin's not giving this one without a fight, though, and his fight for third place, it just carries on, but Blakey's been mugged as Martin holds on to it. Well, it's, as I said, music to the ears of the likes of Potter. Smith is on the hybrid trying to catch up to him, which means he's going to have spare hybrids in the locker later into the race with, well, 11 minutes to go. We are well over halfway, but we're not quite into the sprint to the end just yet. Remember, this lap is about 2 minutes long, so with a 10-minute race, you're probably looking, with 6 laps to go, so there is still a long way. A lot of battling to be done, but it does look like Smith even using... Oh, Chris Blakey, hold on to that, please. My goodness me. Bid for the worst. Or was he on the hybrid as he came out the corner, or did he make the mistake? And then... If he was on hybrid coming out of the corner, no wonder he spun the wheels up. But if he was on the hybrid after the mistake, because he made the mistake, then I can sort of understand it. But a bit of a waste of one there, unfortunately, regardless, isn't it? So as Josh gets himself into I did say that he is getting a lot faster, actually, recently. And I said in the championship, actually, didn't I? Because the top 5 seemed like they were going to be running away with this. But Scott Bugner isn't even here tonight.
Yeah, Joel
so
West
he's
is quite far down too.
He's in 5th place in the championship. Craig Curtis, yeah, okay, was in a better spot in qualifying, but is now not really anywhere near. Well, he's in 10th place, and he's just been overtaken by Jack Smith, who had a torrid start. Now is up to 9th, and he's got 5.5 seconds to go. Jack Smith, as I said, is quite far down, just like I mentioned just then. So actually, Josh Martin will be gaining points on everyone ahead of him including Oliver Gibson, but not that much. Or other than Ben Smith, and I'd say probably Oliver Gibson, really, because that's going to be negligible by the time you take drop scores into account and whatnot. But yeah, everybody else, he's pulling in quite nicely here, so we could well have a sixth member to the championship fight. And I think it's unfortunate that Scott Bugner's not here. If anybody else is out there who knows why Scott Bugner's not here, then please do let us know in the YouTube chat. Adam Lyle coming in for a drive-through penalty. Rich, you don't need to go live, but do you think that's a jump start?
No, it was at track cuts. It's too far into the race now. I'm live, by the way, just so.
No.
It was too far into the race for being a jump start. That's definitely track cuts.
Right, track cuts it is then. As we just see the driver fall off the circuit, or was it a driver just going a little bit wide and then carrying on? It was a little bit wide because it's Teapot. Thomas Potter going wide. He's lost the position to Ben Smith. He may well lose a podium position here as well to Oliver Gibson and Josh Martin. Martin crawling all over the back of him. That puff of dust. Well, that won't help Josh. Josh absolutely squirreling the rear end, as we've seen him pretty much every single lap. I don't know how his rear tyres are still attached to the car, to be honest. But Potter running wide. That could see another race victory. He has already had one here in the BMW Cup. It was while, unfortunately, we weren't broadcasting. So this would have been his first broadcast win. And I think the other one was a reverse grid win, which to the elitists out there of you would probably say that it doesn't quite count. I personally think it does, but there we go. But Ben Smith has taken over the lead and has now actually got the same gap that Potter had over him only 2 minutes ago. So all of a sudden we are in for a fight for second place. I'm sure there's agony in the YouTube chat right now. Yes, oh goodness gracious, yes there is. Well, there's still 8 minutes to go, people. It's Max Wright asking what happened. Well, from the best of our ability, we can probably deduct that we saw a big puff of smoke coming off the exit of one of the corners. Not smoke, sorry, of dust. Probably ran a little bit too wide. He wasn't close enough to Ben Smith, sorry, to say there was going to be any contact or anything like that. So yeah, it looked like he just.
It looks like we've lost Jack for a minute, so bear with us while he reconnects.
I'm attempting to be. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, I don't know what happened there, but I do know that I remember getting my microphone, my very expensive microphone, as you can imagine, you want a pretty decent one when you're doing this job, out the box for the first time, plugged it in with the cable, and then dropped it on its cable end. And ever since then, it's been it had far too many histrionics for my liking, but it's very delicate. If the wind blows in the wrong direction, it ends up disconnecting. So please do give me a nudge if it happens again. I think I was explaining Thomas Potter's off. Hopefully you heard it. If you didn't, I think it's already been explained in the YouTube chat. He just forced off a little bit wide. He wasn't forced off, sorry. He forced himself off a little bit wide, shall I say. So it looks like he's still got good pace. He's not really, since coming off, he's not really had too much problem with Josh Martin behind. But as they sort of just cool down a little bit coming off the final corner, I think Oliver Gibson is the driver, potentially the best opportunity. I was going to throw to Rich to give us a rundown of the hybrids, but I'm going to do that in a minute or two because it does look like Oliver Gibson may well have the run for a lunge. No, not quite. Ooh, Josh Martin aiming very early into the apex there. Does get it collected, but slightly ruined his run out, and Oliver Gibson wants to take advantage around the outside. It wasn't going to happen, just trying to force Martin into a mistake, and a mistake he forces into because he's gone very squirrely on the exit, trying to hold on to the middle of the corner. He's allowed Thomas Potter to get away, but Oliver Gibson could smell blood in the water here, and Chris Blakey could, in fact, be interested in taking back his podium position as Gibson goes wide. Martin for the defensive line, goes a little bit deep. No, he managed to collect it, but again, he's spinning those rear wheels up like no tomorrow. It's very difficult to see how those tyres are going to last into the final couple of minutes as Potter gets on the hybrid in, again, slightly unusual place, but gets it going, and he has pulled about 1.3 seconds, so can't really argue with it. I think Martin has just about fended off that attack for the time being, but that was a very, very worrisome moment as Jack Smith has managed to get up to 8th place, so I didn't think he would do that because he was about 5 seconds away from Craig Curtis once upon a time. It looks like he has still got a good pace in him, even though that lap one, I think it was turn one actually, he got mixed up with something that forced him right to the back, and it forced Craig Curtis right to the back as well, actually, and he's in the right place now as well. So, yeah, yeah, go for it, Rich. A little bit of an update on the hybrid because they've stopped falling over each other.
Okay, so the top four have got 5 left. Chris Blakey in 5th has got 4, Andy Carroll 4, Paul Laramie's down to 2, Jack Smith's got 4, Craig Curtis 5, and then rounding out the top 10, Lee Pearce is on 6.
So quite a few of them have actually decided that to learn from their mistakes. It's only taken them 6 rounds, hasn't it, to save the hybrid towards the end. But to be fair, I think it does look like Portimao offers drivers an opportunity to slipstream almost as powerfully as the hybrid, actually, and sort of giving it back and forth. That sort of the second sector is just brilliant for racing, isn't it? It's we're not relying on the hybrid here to try and get overtakes or anything like that. It is forcing people offline and getting them into the middle of the track, spinning up the rear wheels and all that sort of thing. If anything, the hybrid is probably a little bit of a hindrance in certain parts of the circuit, as we've seen the likes of Chris Blakey getting far too wild on the rear end of his car. So it's really good to see that drivers are having to think about it a little bit more, and it takes a lot more skill to use the hybrid around here. And plus, it's awesome to see that we're actually having organic overtakes, which is nice as well. So yeah, all in all, very successful race 1 here at Portimao, I'd say, from a judge's perspective. What we're saying on the YouTube chat, a lot of people, well, Dave's back in the chat. Saying, to be fair, somehow Josh managed to side a car on bold tire. I don't know whether he's a slider car, but side a car on bold tires for around 39 miles on Sunday. He only managed to get them to delaminate on the final stage. So maybe he's the who's the really good? Is it Sergio Perez who's very good on the tires? I genuinely can't remember now. Anyway, maybe he's just maybe he's the new Eric Axelson. Maybe Eric has been teaching him the ways of smoothness, and that's why he's able to hold on to his sides.
Eric's back in the Cooper Cup.
Is he? Oh, well, that's nice to say, isn't it? Eric Axelson back with VRRC, where he belongs as well. Did he have a? He had a bit of an extended period off, didn't he? Due to well, I think he moved house or something.
Correct, yeah, he moved house and he had a lot going on. He needed to get his sim sorted out and set up. So yeah, and then he was midway through a championship, so decided to leave it until Cooper's.
Well, it's nice to see Eric Axelson back. It's also nice to see so much interaction in the YouTube chat, like I mentioned. Plenty of people chatting. I could just see that Catherine is not going into his room while he's racing. That's probably an understandable thing to do, especially coming into that teenage phase. You'll probably get a bit of a snappy answer, I imagine. Although he seems like a genuinely nice guy. Everybody goes through a teenage stage at some point, don't they? Perez isn't good on his tyres. He drives off the car. Who is it? He's good on the tyres. I've absolutely forgotten it. My mind's gone with it. It's a Sainz or someone. Anyway, I can't remember. Button was very good on his tyres, but there's one that everybody always went on about how he looks after them so well and everything like that. I could have sworn it was Perez. It was Perez back in the Force India days, wasn't it? Yeah, that's not Force India, whatever they were when they were pink. Anyway, that was really going to annoy me then, but it was Perez I was thinking of. Ben Smith has been good on the tyres. He's been good on the track. He was pretty good in qualifying. He's been good with the weights. He's done everything right, actually. And he was just waiting, biding his time to see if Potter would make some kind of mistake. And unfortunately for Potter, he did. Smith ends up... Oh, in fact, Tom is still actually really pushing his car in the background there. I think learn to consolidate when needs be, because he's lost the position potentially to Josh Martin. Pushing too hard may well be his downfall here in 2 separate occasions. It's cost him a race win, may well cost him a podium position. It's second place is Josh Martin's. Potter is still in 3rd, but Oliver Gibson is a driver who you don't need to ask twice to take the position off him. And I think, unfortunately for Thomas Potter, we're going to have another lap, because there's about 5 seconds to go, and Smith is about to cross the line. It's not the checkered flag thrown just yet. We are now onto the final lap of the race, with Thomas Potter having to defend from Oliver Gibson. Josh Martin has got away from him slightly, and he needs to drive a bit more sensibly, a bit more conservative, and see that second place is better than losing a podium. Oh, he's launched up the inside. His contact with Josh Martin. It hasn't sent Martin round. Martin's held on to it. I think he gave him a little bit of an answer back there, actually, as he gets forced, and Oliver Gibson ends up taking that bottom step of the podium. Although, to be fair, Potter, there wasn't really any space to lunge Martin into the first corner. But could have cost him big. That could have cost Martin big, as well as Gibson looked like he just missed his braking zone. That's going to, I think, gift Martin second place. They've all only got one hybrid left. Chris Blakey's got 0. He's still in the background there, but he won't be moving forward. Put it that way, as... Oh, sorry, I thought somebody just disappeared at the front of this little train there. But Smith has got 3.5 seconds to go. He has technically disappeared off into the Algarve, probably enjoying an early cocktail, to be honest. And who can blame him? Gibson looks like he's going to have this third place all mopped up. I think we're going to have a bit of an angry Thomas Potter. But unfortunately, 2 mistakes is all you need to lose out against these guys. And, well, 3, because he went for that overtake on Josh Martin. That was never going to come off, unfortunately. Even we were sort of recoiling in the commentary booth back here. But Ben Smith is someone who we haven't recoiled watching, because he is driven very well indeed. 50 kilograms of ballast on board. Jack Smith was saying that it's pretty much impossible to drive with that and get race wins. Well, Jack Smith did it, but he couldn't do it again. Ben Smith has done it here on absolute pure pace, to be fair, and with a little bit of help from a driver mistake or 2 ahead of him. Ben Smith takes home and takes the victory here at the Algarve Circuit International, with Josh Martin coming home in second, Oliver Gibson in third, Thomas Potter from pole position will come in fourth, Chris Blakey will end up in 5th. Solid top 5 finish, as they were 10 or 11 seconds ahead of the likes of Andy Carroll, Paul Laramie, Craig Curtis, Jack Smith, and Gillian Christian in 10th place. What a race. Very good, very entertaining. We were promised it in qualifying. It delivered on the track as well. We're going to be back in a couple of minutes' time with our top 3 for a quick interview. Welcome back, everybody, and we've got 3 very happy drivers in the interview room. I'll start with 3rd place, Oliver Gibson. Is that the way we're doing it, Rich? Yes, 3rd place, Oliver Gibson. There we go. Oliver, chatting to Josh, I could hear the smile, to be honest, just as you came into the interview room there. How much did you enjoy that one?
Oh, I mean, it's pretty good, wasn't it? Yeah, I saw there was a battle behind, and I thought that looks quite good. Thought about dropping back, and then I looked forwards, and saw they started battling. So I just really wanted to join in, and then turns out Josh has a body kit on his car, because his car is so wide, it's unbelievable. I couldn't find a way past. So it is what it is. But we had some good racing, bit of close to the wall on the main straight. I can't remember what lap it was, but me, Josh, and Chris, bit of a 3 wides battle into turn 1. So good result, exactly what I wanted. I thought, you know, there's possibly a win, but you know, you've got Ben, who's absolutely flying at the moment, and you had Thomas, who was also really quick, and Josh. So it seemed like it was unachievable, really. But I'll take thirds and carry on the momentum, hopefully, into race 2.
Talk us through your move for 3rd place as well, because obviously it was a bit of a lunge from the driver ahead of you on Josh, wasn't it? From Thomas to Josh. Did your eyes light up as you knew it was going to be the final lap when you saw him do that?
Oh, yeah. I thought, here we go, we're about to get 2 places. They're both going round, and they held it together. So I thought it was, had to be done on the straight. I think I got Thomas just before it, which obviously helped. And then I thought Josh was going to run out of push to pass because I thought he used more than me during the race, but clearly not. So then I got on the push to pass. I was like, here we go. I'm going to have him into the hairpin. Oh, he's still there. So, yeah, that was a moment there. I thought seconds mine, but yeah, still that body kit on Josh can't knock it.
Well, you have 40 kilos of ballast on board. I'm pretty sure that's an increase from a couple of weeks ago and everything. How's it feeling around here? Because it's a hilly circuit, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I think it's only 5 kg, but it adds up. It doesn't feel too different. I'm just, you just got to take it in your stride, I think. Obviously, if I was on 50, I think I'd be unhappy, which it might happen, but with the way Ben's driving, I think I might stay second in the championship, so hopefully I stay on 40, because it's not 50, and it's only 5 kg more than what I was on before, so no real difference noticed.
Cracking stuff. Oliver, would anybody like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, can do. My parents are watching. I'm sure the people in the Hop Cavern Howden are watching, enjoying a few drinks. Brian's probably watching. Dave is watching. Obviously, the DK, Dave Kempton. So, and obviously Simon Thorpe's on the car. So I don't know if he's watching, but if he is, shout out to him. And yeah, there you go. And Rich, obviously Rich. Yeah, no problem.
Fantastic, Oliver. Good stuff. Good luck for race number 2, and we'll speak to you afterwards.
Cheers.
The man who I'm pretty sure took a portable dyno out there with him because he was spinning the wheels up that much. It's Josh Martin comes home in second place, and I have to say, taking the mick out of you there a little bit, Josh. It was very impressive you kept those wheels on the canvas.
I really enjoyed that race. It was brilliant. Yeah, I'm running my Spa setup. It's a little bit aggressive for this track. I didn't have the time to dial it in, so we're running with it. But it seems to be working. So yeah, bit of fun on all the corner exits.
Yeah, it did look fun. You obviously had pace as well. You had the widest car by the sounds of it, according to Oliver. But you had pace, Josh. And where's that sort of come from? Because to be honest, like we were very used to seeing you very fast for a long time. Then it's sort of waned off. And in terms of championship, you were in 6th place. I said that maybe you could sort of entertain the idea of trying to join the top 5 sort of thing. I didn't really sort of expect it, but you seriously turned up all of a sudden. Where's this come from?
As Dave would say, I'm washed, so it comes out occasionally, my speed, but often I'm a little bit mediocre recently. But I just want to say as well, like, fair play to Wally. Like, we went side by side so many times from lap 1 to the end, like super clean, and like I stuck it round his outside on multiple occasions, and it's like there's not many people you can trust like that much. Like, he only wanted to miss his apex or run a couple of feet wide, and I would have definitely been off, and he probably would have been off with me. So fair play to him for being a driver you can just trust so much and race so fairly cleanly and obviously funly.
I think we've lost Jack there for a second, so I'll carry on. Sorry, I was I was a little bit. Where's Jack gone for a second? But yeah, I think he's had to pop off. So well done, Josh. Great result for you. Good luck. Oh, he's back. Is there anything else you want to say to Josh before we move on to Ben, Jack?
Yeah, sorry about that, Josh. All of a sudden, there was an awful lot of banging outside of my real world car, and I thought someone was trying to break into it, which has happened before. So. I had to rush off during your answer there. But is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
It's got to be Dave in the YouTube chat and Ollie for making that such a fun race. So, yeah.
Fantastic. Great stuff, Josh. And good luck for race number 2.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
Finally, we're on to Ben Smith. And just before we do, I do apologise, everybody, for me disappearing very quickly there. It's normally fine when Andy McEwen here or Richard John Neal or something like that, but it's a bit scary living where I live when they start banging like that. Right, Ben Smith, a big race win there. I mean, at some point, I mean, realistically, did you think that was going to come your way?
Thomas was really pushing hard at the start and was driving off a bit, but I saw that turn one, especially, I was quite a bit quicker than him, so I managed to keep in the tow and just stick with it. And then ultimately, he just made a small mistake. I got past, and from then on, it was just pray that Josh and Ollie didn't catch up because they were looking rapid. But yeah, that's really good for the championship. I am starting to think about it a bit now. So yeah, really good.
I was going to say that's you're one of the few drivers we ever chatted to who's sort of been in the mix with the championship who've actually brought it up before I have or Andy has. So that clearly means it is on your mind a little bit. I mean, very quickly before we talk about it though, what happened to Thomas? Because it was off screen. Did you see him?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he just ran a little bit wide into the gravel and then just lost all his momentum, and I just managed to sneak past, and then from then on I just kept the foot down and managed to hold the gap. So yeah, I feel bad for him because especially coming P4 after such a good race is a bit of a disappointment for him, but I'm sure he'll be at the front this time again.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, 50 kilos of ballast on board. I bet you didn't think you'd be coming home with a race victory, but race 2, reverse grid, that's not going to be so easy, surely. I mean, you have to get this thing off some of those corners, up the hills and everything like that, whilst overtaking people is going to be a bit sketchy, surely.
Yeah, it's going to be tricky around here, especially with all the uphill sections, but I think I'm, like again last week, just going to bide my time, hope for the best, and maybe even get near the front, which would be the icing on the cake.
It will be, indeed. You said you were talking about the championship and everything like that. Well, it's not looking too bad. It's not looking too shabby and everything like that. But Oliver Gibson, who came second, is breathing down your neck as well, of course. There was only 3 points going into it. And I can tell you now, actually, midway through tonight, which obviously the drop scores all get messed up, it's only 1 point, and it's actually you in second. So does that, I mean, I know the drop scores haven't really come into account because we have to do race 2 and everything like that. But with it being that close, are you very conscious when you see Oliver's name get within your sights?
I am, because I did see him coming up really quick today, but I know he's clean, like Josh said, and they looked like they had a great battle. So if ever I'm near him, I'll certainly be happy to be on the track, and whatever happens, I'll be happy to be near the front because it's the first real championship for me after the Porsche, so it's nice to be able to mix with these quick guys.
I was going to say, we were very excited to see you in the same machinery as everybody else because you did the Cayman, didn't you?
Yeah, I did the Caymans, yeah.
Yeah, that was we were waiting to see what your real push was in the equal machinery, and had to say you're providing with some excellent racing. Right, Ben, I know we've already done this once, but is there anybody you'd like to give a shout out to? You're going to have to make a list of names each week at this point.
Yeah, I definitely will, but again, it's going to have to be Rich because, you know, he just keeps everything going around here, and without him, all this stuff wouldn't be possible. So obviously, big Rich, big shout out.
Big up, Rich. Yeah, fantastic stuff, Ben. Big congratulations on the race win. Good luck for race number 2.
Thank you very much. Maybe speak to you.
Maybe indeed. Right, we only have about, oh my goodness, 35 seconds. I'm glad that was the last question we asked him, because we are about to go racing once more. Race 2 is coming up on your screen. You're all pretty happy about going into another race before, yeah, if we had over 2 minutes, we'd be seeing another advert. We don't want that. We want to be chatting to the drivers. We want to be waiting for the racing. Hopefully you're not all bored of my voice just yet, but don't worry, that'll come. Ben Smith is not on pole position. That is Brad Smith in the orange car. They were so kind as to go opposing colour schemes for this season. So Brad Smith, I do apologise if I say Ben Smith accidentally, because as I glance to the left. But Sam Walton, Kenny Press, and then Nathan Smith are your front 2 rows. And as the lights come on, the engine notes rise. And for Portimao, this will be the final time that we see action here in the BMW M135i Cup, powered by VRRC, and powering away is Brad Smith. Great start by him, going into the first corner. He's not under any threat whatsoever. Walton in the background is holding everybody else up. Look at the gap that Brad Smith has been able to pull on the rest of the field. Is there a big commotion in the background? Well, Olivia Krzyzanowska has turned around, or has fallen to the back anyway. Paul Laramie's fallen down the order. To be fair, it's all going haywire on the left-hand side of your screen. We'll have a look at it again in about half a lap's time as Sam Walton versus Nathan Smith. Nathan Smith, of course, was capturing our attention in race 1. Flies at the inside into second place. Could he be the outside shot for a race victory here? If that's if anybody can catch up to Brad Smith, to be fair. Walton looking interested in trying to take that position back of him, but it's no hybrids just yet, so he couldn't lunge him in. Lee Piercy also there. Is that Jack Smith? How on earth has Jack Smith got up to 6th? Well, to be fair, he didn't finish very well, did he, actually? So Jack Smith in 5th place will be a real headache for a lot of these drivers. It is Jack Smith. There he is. You have to see it to believe it, don't you, when he's all the way up that quickly, to be honest. As Walton versus Lee Piercy. Piercy goes through. Big lunge on Walton. Anybody going to spin the rear tyres up? No, not just yet anyway. No one's, everyone's learned from Josh Martin's live stream there, clearly. Smith looks at the inside. Lovely little bit of a move. I think that Walton was probably expecting it. Didn't really fight it that much, as Kenny Press is interested in having a little bit of a lunge as well. Craig Curtis versus Christian in the background. 8th and 9th place, swapping over nicely. No one swapping over with Brad Smith. But Nathan Smith, Nathan Smith is going very well indeed. And it'll be interesting to see who's got the fastest lap next time round. May well, of course, be Jack Smith, who with 40 kilos of ballast on, has got the same amount as his brother, Oliver Gibson, and has now got less than Brad Smith. So we may well start seeing the real Jack Smith, because he didn't have it all his own way in race 1. It'd be painful for him, but it would be nice to hear actually what on earth happens, because we didn't see any of it. Brad Smith goes a little bit wide. Potter is falling down the order. We've had a problem with Thomas Potter. He's down in 18th place. I think he's been turned around. He's rejoining the circuit. There he is, with Andy Cowell going around him, who's also not really had a great start. Josh Martin's up to 9th place, where the other drivers that we'll be keeping an eye on. Well, we'll keep an eye on this one for the time being, because Jack Smith slots one at the inside of Sam Walton. Yes, it is Sam Walton, isn't it? Yes. No, it's Lee Piercy. No, I've got it completely wrong. Lee Piercy, who actually holds on to the position for the time being. Got a decent drive on the exit, and just about fends off previous champion Jack Smith, but goes a little bit wide. Doesn't quite hit the angle right. I tell you what, he's keeping it though. He's keeping it nicely done. I like the circuit, as you can tell over the course of this evening. I like the circuit, but I do like the fact that you can miss apexes and carry momentum at a lot of these corners. Really nice to see the sort of defensive qualities coming out in a lot of these drivers. Brad Smith, I imagine, is going to have to display quite a few of these defensive tactics as well, because he's got Nathan Smith hunkered right up his back bumper now. His rear diffuser is going to get rather disturbed, I think, from Nathan Smith behind. He's trying to put him off the circuit almost. In fact, it's slowed him down so much, it's invited the other two behind just to have a little bit of a crack as well. Nathan Smith getting all over the curb. Not sure that will actually help him in his run down the main straight, but they're all on the hybrid. And I think Jack Smith, yeah, there we go, has managed to get past Lee Piercy. And Nathan Smith, he was in the slipstream. That's why he's allowed a few more miles an hour down into the first corner, both using the hybrid. And it's Nathan Smith who gets ahead of Brad Smith for the first time here this evening. Jack Smith goes wide, so does Lee Piercy. Everyone's on the hybrid. Everyone's trying to force a little bit of a move and cause a problem up ahead. Smith shows his nose. That's Jack Smith. Oh, my God, the top three are all Smiths. Brad Smith on the inside in orange. Nathan Smith in 2nd place. Jack Smith in 3rd. Lee Piercy falls off the circuit. He's not really involved with this whatsoever anymore. Jack Smith looks like he's been sort of boxed in as Brad has held on to that race lead. Nathan Smith, who I thought was odds on to get that from him, couldn't quite do it. But what a cutback we could have here from Jack Smith. Is he on the hybrid? No, doesn't need it. Someone's gone off on the outside. There's more people turning around. We'll get to that in a minute. It's Ben Smith, potentially, actually. That could be massive for the championship, as my voice was just got all over the place there. You can tell it's been an exciting race. Nathan Smith drops off the back of these two. It could be a Jack Smith race victory here. I said Nathan Smith was the outside shout, but Brad Smith actually still holds on to it. To be fair, for about the last 6 minutes or so, well, 5 minutes or so. As Jack goes wide, looking for that cutback. Or he might just try and go around the outside, because it's going to be a left-hander. That means he'll be on the inside for the next corner. No, Brad doing everything he can and putting on a strong show for potential driver of the round. Nathan Smith goes wide. Jack Smith goes at the inside. Nicely done. Can Brad Smith get the cutback like Jack did a couple of moments ago? No, he doesn't. There's a hip check. Jack Smith sends Brad off into the wall over on the left-hand side. And I have to say, that was a big, big hip check. He was definitely... There's a Monday night conversation to be had, I think, there. And unfortunately, Jack Smith may well have to plead his case, because it did look like he could have kept his car straight going and then all of a sudden Brad Smith is going off the circuit. That's all I'm going to say. It has allowed Lee Pearcey back in with a shout here, but everything basically now is, I would say, and the commentators are not supposed to put their opinion in, but we're not in real life, so I will. That everything is basically provisional. I'd say in these top three until maybe Nathan Smith gets the run on Jack Smith with all that weight on. Jack probably has used a fair few hybrids. In fact, they haven't really. Rich, they haven't used much hybrids at all, have they? Because they're all still on double figures.
Yeah, Jack's on 12, Nathan's got 13, Lee's 11, Craig's 11, Chris Blakey 12. So still in double figures for pretty much everybody.
Yeah, it just surprised me slightly. Is also surprising me is Lee Pearcey's choice to try and go around the outside of Nathan Smith into that corner. Very much reminds me of Catalunya. And in fact, while we were watching the hot lap, I said that I was getting it mixed up with another circuit. And Rich said, "Oh, well, is it Barcelona? Because it does look pretty much identical." And there are certain parts of this track which do look genuinely identical. Oh, now Oliver Gibson versus Ben Smith. After just talking to these two drivers, after just talking to Ben about the presence of Oliver Gibson as well, how is this one going to end up with Josh Martin ahead of them and pulling away slightly? He's just doing all he can to try and crack into the top 5, but these two are fighting over a championship lead. Paul Laramie's not fighting over anything apart from pride and track position, which is a completely no pressure situation for him as Gibson goes very wide, but he could have the run. That could be an excellent move on Ben Smith here. Does Laramie try and follow him through? Big lunge up the backside by Adam Lyle. I think he's managed to get Paul Laramie as Laramie was looking for a space to attack. Is Brad Smith, is that again? Yeah, it is. Brad Smith has rejoined the circuit. I'm not entirely sure how he's not dead last, to be honest, but because he was looking like he was off on a trip to Spain or something like that with how far he was going off this Portuguese circuit. But here we are. He's fighting for 10th place, which is fairly impressive, I'd say, considering where we last saw him. Oliver Gibson getting ahead of Ben Smith is more of a fly in the ointment, I'd say, as Pearcey goes wide as he was ahead of Nathan Smith. We didn't see how that one happened, but allowed Jack Smith to get away quite nicely. There's a lot going on in this race, and we do expect that, I suppose, from a reverse grid. Josh Martin ahead of Gillian Christian, and then got Chris Blakey 3.5 seconds up the road. It's a long way to go. Dave saying Josh needs to win. Portimao is such a good track. Catherine Potter's turned allegiance, hoping Brad Smith wins on this one. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see a Brad Smith victory. Phoenix Sim Racing, a lot of love in the chat for Phoenix Sim Racing as well, which we always like to see. Yeah, very nice to see such an interactive chat. If you are out there and you want to give it a share, if you want to give it a follow or interact in any way, basically, then we always appreciate it. But if you do want to just sit there and enjoy the racing, mute the stream because you're getting annoyed with me, then that's okay too. I don't hold it against you. I get paid however many people listen to me. Chris Blakey, purple, sector 1, is, well, very impressive actually. He's only 0.6 of a second away from Lee Pearcey, so we could see a fight for 4th as the top 3 have somewhat quietened down. In fact, the whole field is somewhat quietened down, apart from, you guessed it, that fight for the championship lead, because Ben Smith versus Oliver Gibson have now pretty much caught back up to each other. There was one point where I feared that Oliver Gibson would pull away quite dramatically, but he's been stuck behind Gillian Christian, so it could be a bit of more of a fight between them. How quickly can Oliver Gibson dispatch Christian? We'll have to wait and see. In fact, it could be fairly immediate because Christian was very early on the hybrid, and Oliver Gibson, with the slipstream, was able to stay in touch and then use the hybrid going into the corner. Use that a lot better on the exit, the final corner, and Oliver Gibson gets through. So can Ben Smith find a quick response to that and follow him? Yes, is probably going to be the answer because Christian goes very wide. Smith's trying to find a way through. He's going to have to do it the harder way than Gibson did, but he should be, I was going to say, he should be on the hybrid right now and make this as easy as possible. Sacrifice the hybrid to catch up to the likes of Oliver Gibson and get past Christian, who is lacking in hybrid, but the person with the most between Lee Pearcey and all the way down to Thomas Potter, who's in 13th, pretty good recovery, up to 12th now, is actually Josh Martin. How many is Josh on now, Rich?
Josh is on 10. You've got Jack Smith in lead on 10, and then you've got Nathan on 11, Lee Piercy 9, Craig 9, Chris Blakey 9, Josh Martin 10.
Okay then, so fairly evens, but yeah, we still see a few people just reserving a few more. As Christian versus Adam Lyle. Lyle getting through there. Lyle's actually one of the drivers that we were sort of focusing on quite a lot in the first race, actually, wasn't it? It's entertaining us throughout this evening. Here's Lee Piercy against a very wide Nathan Smith. Now, I was half expecting these drivers to catch up to Jack Smith, and I say half expecting because we know how quick Jack is. But it hasn't really been the case so far. In fact, on the last lap, yeah, it's a bit of a shame, really, because the last lap, Jack Smith was half a second quicker. Lee Piercy calmed down a touch. He doesn't know this, but Nathan Smith has a lot of hybrids. So this is a bit of a, in comparison, I think there's about 2 or 3 hybrids between them anyway. But at least he could try and catch up to Jack Smith on the road and drag both of them along, is sort of where I'm thinking. But if Nathan just keeps throwing it off the circuit like that, then why wouldn't Piercy go for the move? And after last week, when we saw Piercy at Oschersleben have a really good race and lose it, some would say unfairly, against, I think it was Josh Martin, you can't really argue the fact that he wants to try and take another podium opportunity when he can get them. Why would he let that down? On the previous lap, it was 0.2 of a second difference between Jack Smith and Lee Piercy. Fastest lap of the race, which is of course worth 3 points. I'm looking down the order. Jack Smith is currently the fastest I've laid eyes on. I think it may well be Jack Smith, actually. I think everybody else has been too busy falling over each other. 1 minute 54.2 for a car with 40 kilos on ballast on board is, well, I mean, I'd say the rest of them need to up their game a little bit. I mean, we all know that they are faster than Jack Smith. The qualifying showed that. But it doesn't seem that they're able to actually hook it together. So this race does seem that a few people are struggling. But we do know that the drivers that would be probably battling those fastest laps is Oliver Gibson and is... That's not correct, is it, Rich?
No, it's not. The timing tower's having a glitch at the moment. I was just thinking, actually, I don't know. I've not spoke to Jack. I'm just wondering whether he knows this track very well. Because he seems to be getting quicker and quicker. So... I just don't know whether he's not had a chance to do much practice because he's been busy and he's not a Portimao expert. I agree with you, he does know most tracks. I'm just wondering whether he just doesn't know this one as well, and as he's getting his handle on the track, he's getting quicker.
Yeah, because you would expect, I mean, Lee Piercy basically just then equalled Jack Smith's fastest time. The problem for Lee Piercy was the fact that Jack Smith also set another fastest lap. So he beat it by about a 100th of a second or something ridiculous. So, yeah, there are some fastest laps. But the driver with the fastest lap now, the first driver in this race to go into the 1 minute 53s, is Adam Lyle. So Adam Lyle taking 3 points away from quite a few drivers. Lee Piercy. And what happened, Rich?
He spun. He just got on the power.
Did he just... Oh, goodness me. That's a shame, isn't it? Well, Lee Piercy... I mean, you can't have any arguments about that one if he just span it round, unfortunately, losing a podium position this time. Maybe last week he had an argument to say that he could be upset, but that just looked like a bit of a mistake, didn't it? It's given Craig Curtis an opportunity, though. Yeah. Nathan Smith a chance to finally get away.
I only saw the end of it, but it didn't look like Nathan was close enough to him to have turned him around. So I'm making an educated guess that it is a throttle spin rather than a contact spin.
Well, that's better than most of my commentary, Rich, because I'm not even educated. I'm just making guesses as to see what happens. Because a lot of the time I'm looking at the timing tower, and all of a sudden I look back, and boom, someone's turned around, or someone's off the circuit, or something's happened that I haven't caught. But Joel Lask is unfortunately in the pits. I did not notice that.
He's been there since the start.
Oh, that's a shame. And Brad Smith. That's the reason why I was sort of looking. I was looking for Brad Smith, and all of a sudden he's in the pits as well. So. I wonder if that's a drive-through for too many corner cuts. Is he stationary? No, he's stationary, isn't he? So,
yeah.
Brad Smith, that's gutting, isn't it? Because he was doing so well.
He was doing well, yeah.
And it's always nice to see new people sort of pushing the envelope and pushing the top end of the order, like the likes of Nathan Smith here, to be fair. Craig Curtis, we've had a fair few podiums off him as well in the past, as Ben Smith now gets past Adam Lyle. So although he's got the podium position, and to be fair, actually, last lap he must have overtaken Ben Smith because he was behind. Now then he was ahead, and then we've just seen a Ben Smith overtake him to try and catch up Oliver Gibson as well. I wonder if Smith had a bit of an Smith had a bit of an off. Yeah, he had a very slow time actually, 1 minute 55.5. So it's not ideal. Jack Smith has gone quicker again. 1 minute 54 dead. Not fastest lap, but only a 10th off it. And the only driver who is also in the fastest in the 53s actually is Josh Martin. Josh, who had a fair few extra hybrids compared to everybody else, a couple of laps to go. Where is he? He's in 6th place, still has 7, so he still has what I think is 1 or 2 more compared to everybody else. Which?
Yeah, he's on 7. So a quick rundown for you. Jack's on 6. Nathan's on 7. Craig on 6. Chris Blakey 5. Lee Piercy 5. Josh Martin 7. Oliver Gibson 6. Ben Smith on 5, not Brad, and Adam Lyle on 3.
Can you imagine if there was a Brett Smith as well? I think I'd give up. Just be like, no, I'm out of the commentary game. No, it's done. Yeah, so Josh Martin and Nathan Smith are the 2 drivers with the most amount, but everyone's doing a pretty good job of holding on to him. As I said, I think it's to do with the fact that potentially the slipstream is very powerful here as well, and there's only really 2 places to use it, and one of them's a bit of a risk, to be honest, going at the top end of that circuit. So it's nice to see a few people have to get inventive with it, but as I said, it's nice that people are actually just making sort of moves organically. Chris, oh my days! Chris Blakey versus Craig Curtis. Craig Curtis moving around a little bit there. I think weaving. You might have to look up the definition in the MSA rulebook there, because it looked a little bit like he made one move to the middle of the circuit, then made another move to the inside, and then made another move to the to the middle again. But I mean, we did see an overtake by Chris Blakey around the outside. It was pretty spectacular. But it was Craig Curtis. Definitely has to check himself a little bit when he's going to be making any of those sort of movements once more. Chris Blakey back on the hybrid to try and pull away from Curtis, who now makes a deficit of 2 hybrids, not to Chris Blakey's advantage. Nathan Smith on 5 as well, used it to try and get away, but actually I don't think Blakey really got away from Curtis there at all. So it was a bit of a wasted one, to be honest. Where else are we looking? Any drivers that have caught my attention? Thomas Potter's in 11th. Adam Lyle in 9th, once upon a time, and in fact still does actually have the fastest lap of the race as far as I can see. Chris Blakey's also got into the 1 minute 53s though. A 1 minute 53.966. Touch slower, well, 5 thousandths of a slower than Josh Martin's 53.991, which is just under a 10th of a second slower than Adam Lyle. Anybody to the further back of the grid? No, unfortunately not for the time being. 6 minutes to go. The top 10, you can probably already guess who it is. It's Jack Smith, Nathan Smith, Chris Blakey, and Craig Curtis. And I'd say Nathan Smith is maybe under a little bit of threat here. Lee Piercy rounds up the top 5. Josh Martin is 6th. Oliver Gibson is 7th. Ben Smith in 8th. Again, all those drivers taking small amounts of chunks of points from each other, but really Josh Martin is going to be the one who sees the most amount of progress from this evening, given the championship standings that I'll again remind you of in a couple of minutes. Adam Lyle in 9th, and Gillian Christian is in 10th, rounding out the top 10. So the fight for second place, I said Nathan Smith might be feeling a little bit of pressure. Feeling more than a little bit, I think, because that's a really late break from Chris Blakey. That was very, very late. In fact, Nathan Smith actually overestimated himself as well, trying to go defensive. Craig Curtis wasn't there to take any kind of advantage. I think it's a bit of a shame because Curtis probably thought, oh, if I just used my hybrid a little bit later, maybe there was a chance. But
they both missed their breaking point, didn't they?
Completely. Yeah, no, absolutely sent each other very, very wide. And that's often something that can happen is you're looking in your rearview mirrors, trying to outbrake the person behind you, more than likely means you've already outbroken yourself by the time they hit the pedal. Speaking of hitting things, Craig Curtis, Chris Blakey, Craig, you know better than that. Luckily, he didn't keep on the throttle and he didn't turn Blakey all the way around, and Blakey managed to hold on to it, but that may well be the fight for second place extinguished for the next couple of minutes anyway. The gap between Nathan Smith, whose throttle probably sounded something similar to my voice pattern just then, as he was getting all squirrely on the exit, is about 6 seconds, is what I was going to say from Jack Smith. I was going to say under 6 seconds, but now it's over. Now it's under. It's around the 6 second mark.
Still got 4 hybrids as well.
And he starts for hybrids. I think it's a brave person to say that Jack Smith won't walk away with a race victory here today at Portimao, which is something that you wouldn't have said, to be fair, after the first race and even after qualifying as well.
Would you put your house on it?
I would never put my house on Jack Smith not winning a race in any type of motorsport or sim racing. To be honest, no, not a chance.
I'll put the RV on Jack win.
Yeah, you can put an RV on the Jack win. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I thought you meant that Jack Smith wouldn't come away with a race victory at some point in any given week.
Yeah, no, I will.
Right, I'm with you. Yeah, I'd maybe with a car, maybe not the house.
Here comes
but
Chris
it still looks like these guys would fall over each other, to be honest, because Chris Blakey, and why shouldn't he, is really forcing the issue here of Nathan Smith, but he is down to one hybrid only. He has managed to force Smith into two in the time that he's only used one, sort of thing. So we are getting a little bit more equal. But Craig Curtis, I think, is that 3 to his name, Rich?
Craig Curtis has got 3 hybrids, yeah. Chris Blakey's got 1 in front. Nathan's on 2, and Jack's still on 3.
Yeah, and Josh Martin's actually got a bit of company in Lee Pearson, actually, hasn't he?
Yeah,
in
it's
the
good
background. I
recovery.
mean, he's used his hybrid, so he's pulled away from him, but that did look a little bit closer than I thought. Who's putting money on Craig Curtis then out of this lot to get into second? Because with those hybrid advantages, all he needs is Chris Blakey to have a little lunge on Nathan Smith, a well-placed hybrid from Craig Curtis. He'll get into the front of this little battle, and then he's got probably 1 extra on everybody else. So, I mean, stranger things have happened here at VRRC, and in fact, here goes Craig Curtis without needing to use any kind of hybrid. That's a very narrow gap that he's going for. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, to be fair. There was a BMW-sized hole. He went for it, and he slowed Chris Blakey up. He's going for that cutback. Any squirreling on the exit? Yes, probably, I think, by Nathan Smith, though. Curtis on the, Blakey on the inside. Curtis in 3rd place. Blakey holds on to it.
Josh Martin there.
Yeah, Josh is very interested in it. He's
And
already
Lee.
got 1 podium to his name. He's very interested in getting another. And how wide do you want to go, Craig Curtis? I mean, by all means, just let the robber into the house. Keep the door open. He's just let Josh Martin give him a little bit of a nudge. I'm amazed Josh hasn't come out of that, but he's going to get the slipstream. They're both on the hybrid, and interestingly, they've both got the same amount of hybrids. Chris Blakey has used all of them now. He's finally on it. With 2 minutes to go, I think this is gonna be the penultimate lap of the race, and Chris Blakey surely is gonna be a sitting duck with with 0 hybrids left. Josh Martin gets ahead of Craig Curtis and into 4th place for about 20 yards before he taps on the rear end. Craig
Lee
Curtis
Pearson.
again. You need to keep that front end in check, Craig. You're touching too many back ends, which is something I shouldn't have probably said. But anyway, Lee Pearson is in 6th and is very interested. Going down in towards what I believe is always the same corner as the Catalunya hairpin in the midfield. Craig Curtis goes straight up the inside. And Josh Martin with a lovely little cutback. Curtis was having to use the hybrid. Misplaced, I think. I fear for him. Because Josh Martin now has the advantage and is on the outside. Can he carry the momentum? Easier to think than to say. Josh loses out. Could lose out big time. Lee Pearson was there. He went well off the circuit. And here comes Oliver Gibson. Oliver Gibson takes advantage with the contact with Lee Pearson. He moves up into 6th place. And Josh Martin's having to use the hybrid. He could well get a nice lunge on Craig Curtis here. And he does indeed. They're back to all evens with the hybrids for now. Lee Pearson with 2, though, at the back end of this little battle. Massive moment there for Craig Curtis. Allows Josh Martin to get gone. As I just try and catch any type of resemblance of a breath, Oliver Gibson decides, you know what? No, you're not allowed to breathe in this race. Here we go again. And looks at the inside. But again, Curtis, it's like he's not really worried about the apex or the entry into that corner whatsoever. And it's letting so many drivers just catch right up to the back of him to potentially put a move into the first corner. So what happened a lap ago, it could well happen again here as Lee Pearson is mounting all kinds of curbs on the through the last corner there. That's not going to help him at all. Jack Smith has won this race. Nathan Smith is in 2nd place. I completely lost track of it. Grace Blakey's in 3rd with Josh Martin in 4th. Craig Curtis is in 5th and Oliver Gibson in 6th. I was hoping there was going to be 10 more laps, I'll be honest, because that was just starting to get good. No wonder they started falling over each other, because it was the last lap of the race. My apologies for missing that one. As Andy Cowell comes across, Ben Smith comes across the line ahead of Adam Lyle. There's Andy Cowell and Thomas Potter. Wow, I do apologise. that I missed the end of that race with Jack Smith and Nathan Smith crossing it as well. But I'm sure you can fairly understand that the fight for the fourth place was really hot and heavy at the end there. Right, we're going to go to another short break, and then we'll have a chat to our top three: Jack Smith, Nathan Smith, and Chris Blakey. Welcome back, everybody, and welcome to our three podium sitters. We're going to go with third place in the end, and it's Chris Blakey who came home in third. And I have to say, Chris, you had to work hard.
Yeah, that was a fight. That was all the way. That was good fun. Good fun. Cracking battle with Craig. I thought I might get Nath as well, but not enough. It was
You
really
were
good race.
able to.
Really fun.
Sorry, I was just about to say you were able to convert that qualifying pace into race pace in the end, weren't you? And coming from the back rear end of the field as well. I mean, that must have some kind of extra sort of satisfaction to it.
Yeah, definitely. It was a bit of carnage in the first couple of corners, but I just kind of managed to pick my way through. The first race was a bit unfortunate, like mistake of my own making, kind of put me back down. But it was that close to the top 5. Any mistake would lose you not just 1 but 2 or 3 positions. So yeah, it was nice to kind of show some pace and keep up there. Didn't have anything for Jack. Obviously, he was way off in the distance, but yeah, it was still amazing racing. Good clean racing.
Not many people had an answer for Jack in that race, did he, in the end? Looking at the championship order, you're sat in 8th place, 119 points ahead of Joel Lask, which is never a sorry place to be. You got Andy Carroll a little bit away at the road. Well, actually not that far. Actually, he's only about six points ahead. And then Scott Bugner in the top 6, so a little bit further. What's your ambition in this championship, really? Is it just to keep? Is the motivation just to keep getting those podiums, as many as you can?
Yeah, just to kind of keep pushing the pace now. Just try top 5, 6 qualifying, hopefully, and then trying to convert that into a bit more race pace and yeah, just see if I can keep pushing up the order. It's all
nice
good, all good racing. So
yeah, I was going to say it's nice to see you improving that pace forever. You know, because you've been around for a while, Chris, haven't you? In racing with us,
a year and a bit now. Yeah,
yeah,
about a year and a half. Yeah.
And you sort of were in the rear end of that fight, these fights, weren't you? But now you're right in the sharp end. You feel a little bit more at home here at VRRC, and do you feel a little bit more like you got confidence going into the Coopers if you are racing?
Oh yeah, definitely in the Coopers. Front wheel drive, not my favourite, but I'll definitely be there. Yeah, it's good because like you can trust the guys who you're racing around just to go side by side, not to give an inch, but to give enough. It's real good fun, and yeah, the series is going from strength to strength, and it's all good to see. So
love it, right, Chris? Is there anything that you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go? You probably did this before, but anything else?
Just my darling Mrs. Bex, my race manager, if she's watching, which she probably won't be, but yeah, she's a star. She was looking after me at the weekend at Alton, so yeah, if you're there, get us a coffee.
I'm sure that'll go down really well, Chris.
No, no, you'll hear something go flying in a minute.
Okay, here's your coffee. Bang.
Yeah.
Big congratulations on the podium, Chris, and hopefully we'll speak to you in a couple of weeks' time.
Lovely. Cheers, guys.
That was in third place. Now in second is one of the Smiths, one of the many that we have here. And it's Nathan Smith. Now, Nathan, I took the mick out of Josh Martin looking like he had a portable dyno on the rear end of his car. His wheels are spinning up that much. I could say the same about you, to be honest. That looked really, really hard work.
Yeah, it was. I'm a bit sweaty, I must admit. But to be honest, I didn't have an amazing amount of pace. I was struggling in these cars terribly, as you've probably seen by the last races. Positions where I've been finishing is not ideal. But I gave this one a bit more practice. I stuck at it a bit longer. I got bashed about from pillar to post in race 1, so I couldn't really do much there. And had an unfortunate spin that I think I'd done myself as well. So it was quite nice to get my head down in race 2 and crack on. And I knew Chris was coming up behind me, and I had no defence for him whatsoever. So my tactic was, towards the end of the race, I was just slow him down in the corners when he's right behind me and let everyone else get around him. That's what I did.
I was going to say it worked, didn't it? I mean, I can't deny it, really, when it works. There was a battle of the Smiths. All three of you. It felt like I was watching The Matrix. It was, with you, Brad, and Jack going side by side, boxing each other in, everything like that. I mean, that's surely what you actually turned up for VRRC for, isn't it? That sort of action. It's a shame how it ended with Brad's been falling off, but it was really exciting to watch. Was it exciting to be a part of?
Yeah, it's brilliant to have a battle that close and nobody lose from it. It's great fun. I wish it could be like that all the time, but I'm just as guilty for accidentally causing carnage or as everyone else is. But so when it does come together like that, it does make it quite special, and it was really enjoyable. I had absolutely no answer for Jack because he went and I let him go. To be honest, I wasn't going to get myself caught up trying to chase him because after previous incidences and previous championships, I'm trying to keep my head cool, and it worked. It paid off.
That's what we want to hear, Nathan. Growth, learning from your experience, not just stubborn people who decide no, they're right and they just carry on. But no, love it, Nathan. Anybody you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Not really. No, just
okay.
Everyone watching, thanks for watching, and cheers to everyone that I had a clean battle with. It's fun. My shout out goes out to all the drivers that are racing with the VRRC. It's a great championship, and there's a good bunch of people in it. So yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Fair enough. That was it took me by surprise, to be honest. But well done. You managed to get an answer out there in the end, Nathan. We'll speak to you next week, I'm sure.
Cheers. Bye bye.
Winner for what is, I don't know who's got the tally, about 55, is Jack Smith, of course. Now, Jack, I was saying that you were pretty much nowhere in qualifying. We wouldn't be seeing you in race 1, and we didn't, obviously, with contact. We'll get to that in a second. I genuinely, no offense, didn't think we'd be having this conversation at the end of the night. I mean, how buzzing are you with that race win?
I'll be honest, I'm still annoyed.
What, for the race 1?
Well, both actually. I'm annoyed with the contact with Brad. I don't know. I've looked at it back now, and I don't understand what was gonna happen from from what Brad was doing. I don't really know what was gonna happen after that. So, but yeah, Monday night debrief about that. So we'll wait for that. But yeah, the battles at the start of race 2 were really good. I did quite a nice switchback on Nathan, which got me up the order. So. That was lovely. And then race 1, just shocker really. Just the lack of luck in the last 2 rounds has been pretty abysmal. So I was quite happy to get a bit of a contactless start in race 2, which is very nice. So yeah, obviously happy to get the race win. But yeah, it was pretty smooth sailing from once I got the lead. So yeah, nice track after I got the knack of it. So.
Well, that was actually.
I was just about to say one thing I said during the broadcast, Jack, was I didn't know this, but I was looking at it thinking you didn't know Portimao that well because you just got quicker and quicker and quicker. Is that the case?
Yes, and also the fact I started practice at 6 PM.
Yeah.
Today.
Okay. Yeah.
And that was my first bit of practice, so yeah, that's probably why I was off pace a little bit. But yeah, I think by the midway through race 2, I sort of got into the flow of it, and it's a really good track. I really like it,
beautiful, yeah.
especially in these cars. It just floats so well over these corners, and if you hook it up one perfect lap, it feels amazing. So I was trying all sorts, trying to find time everywhere. My line was like completely different to everyone else's, and I was like, oh no, have I done something wrong? But it seemed to be working. I was diving down the inside of people. They didn't see anything coming. I did it 3 times in race 1. But the bit of contact with Paul, which I put my hands up to that one. That was my fault. I didn't expect him to close the door on me so quickly. But yeah, it's a really good track, really good for these cars especially. So yeah, very good.
Now, championship-wise, Jack, you're in 3rd place. There's a little bit of a gap, but it has meant that you have lost some of the ballast that you were cursing. Does the car feel a bit better?
I was just saying to Ollie actually before the race, 40 kilos feels like I'm running with none. So it makes such a massive difference. It just all of a sudden the car just has front end again, and I was like, oh my word, this is like you just find time instantly, and the car doesn't necessarily feel different. It just sort of feels faster. I don't really know how to explain it. It just sort of wants to get around the corners a bit better, which is nice. It's quite literally a weight off my shoulders. So
that last 10 kilos is called double weight. It's actually 20. No, I'm joking.
Oh right. So that makes sense now. So, yeah.
I put in extra heavy kilograms, so 1 kilo's worth 2.
Yeah. Rich doing his best Alan Gow impression there, and just deciding whatever the
Must
hell
have
he
put
wants.
nitrous in Benz.
Yeah.
He was rapid. I didn't have an answer for that, but yeah.
Well, it was great to see you, Jack, towards the top end again. Obviously, we haven't had a chat for you for 2 weeks, which feels like an absolute age compared to.
I know, it feels like sacrilege, isn't it?
I know, you normally got a permanent place here. In fact, we haven't brought Andy McEwen in for a couple of weeks because we just thought, well, Jack's here all the time anyway. We'll just keep him in. Is there anything you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go?
Yeah, every single person watching. Mum, Lee, my stepdad. I know every single sponsor's probably watching, so Dave, Simon, Hop Cabin. I keep forgetting to mention Hop Cabin, Lee from Hop Cabin. Thank you for watching. Yeah, every single person on the car. And yeah, shout out to Bob as well up there. He's watching down on us. So yeah, we're gonna have a special tribute livery for him for the next series. So we'll see how that turns out. Yeah.
Love it. Right, fantastic. Well, Jack Smith, we look forward to seeing the livery. We look forward to probably speaking to you again rather soon. Enjoy 40 kilos, and we'll chat to you next week.
Shall yeah, no worries. A quick shout out to Ollie as well because he did amazing today. So really good shout out.
He did do a damn good job actually, to be fair, and he did a good job last week as well.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, he's
making me look washed. I have to get a game together. I have to just step it up a bit. But yeah, thanks guys.
Cheers, Jack. Speak to you next week. Right. Okay, it's about that time we come towards the end of the.
Should we announce driver of the round?
You bought it off my tongue. Rich.
Sorry. Well, should we have a fight first, or should we just go for?
No, I think go for it. Go for it. I'm happy to go with your decision.
Okay. So I mean, looking at it, there was a couple of drivers that were a toss up between me and Jack on this, but we're gonna go for a Chris Blakey for driver of the round for this round. So well done, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very damn good job in qualifying and obviously in the races as well. There was Dave, you put a shout out for there, and Josh Martin, and to be honest, yeah, he was a very close one second, but I think Chris Blakey, fair enough for him. Josh has to carry it on, and then maybe he'll get the driver of the round. Right, we are off to the penultimate round of the championship, BMW Cup, and it's to the Hungaroring, a circuit that I imagine most people will know. We're back to familiar looking circuits. On the F1 calendar, obviously, well, it used to be on the F1 calendar, it's no longer actually, just like Portimao, I suppose. But it's a great circuit, and these cars, I reckon, will suit it as well. Maybe not quite as many overtaking opportunities, but 1 or 2 really key ones. So fingers crossed that the drivers put a load of practice in, and they can set up a grandstand Silverstone finish. Right then. To everybody who's watched, my name's been Jack Oliphant. Rich has been alongside me doing the producing, the broadcasting, and throwing in some tidbits here, there, and everywhere. Big thank you to everybody who's watched, liked, shared, commented, or sat there silently judged us. And big thank you to all the drivers for putting on a hell of a show. It's been an absolute honour being your host, and we'll see you next week at the Hungaroring.